In 1965, President Johnson deployed American combat forces in response to increasing North Vietnamese Army aggression against South Vietnam. Psychological operations soldiers deployed on temporary duty to support the American forces and South Vietnamese Psy-War units. The demand for PSYOP quickly outpaced supply. To fill the gap, in February 1966, the Army activated the 6th PSYOP Battalion, composed of the 244th, the 245th, the 246th, and eventually the 19th PSYOP companies. Each provided PSYOP support to a core tactical zone, including mobile print, audio-visual, propaganda campaign development, and tactical loudspeaker teams. The 245th PSYOP Company was assigned to the 2nd Corps Tactical Zone, where it operated for 2 years and supported more than 25 American and South Korean Army operations. By August 1967, the company was composed of 76 officers and soldiers, and also supported the PSYOP missions of the Navy Swift Boat Fleet. The 245th's mission also included supporting radio stations, writing propaganda analysis, and creating PSYOP studies. For leaflet and aerial loudspeaker missions, the unit was supported by the U.S. 5th and 9th Air Commando Squadrons. Elements of the 245th earned the Meritorious Unit Citation for the period 25 August 1966 through April of 1967. Over the course of 2 years, the 245th printed more than 118 million leaflets and disseminated nearly 1.1 billion leaflets to the 2nd Corps. Teams conducted over 4,000 hours of ground and aerial loudspeaker broadcasts and countless face-to-face meetings. At least 13,000 North Viet Cong rallied to the South Vietnamese government side in the 2nd Corps Tactical Zone as an effect of the PSYOP-driven Chu Hoi program. During this time, the 245th was awarded the Vietnam Cross of Gallantry with Palm device. The 245th PSYOP Company expanded to become the 8th PSYOP Battalion, and the unit was removed from the Army rolls. The 245th was resurrected on October 30, 1975 in Texas as an Army Reserve unit wearing the tough hombres shoulder patch of the 90th Army Reserve Command. The company organized into graphic arts and tactical PSYOP teams. They started out with almost no equipment. Training was often held at Fort Walters, Texas. The following year, the 245th PSYOP moved to the Muchert Training Center on Northwest Highway in Dallas. The unit remained assigned there for the next 3 decades. The 245th attended the Operation Bold Eagle training exercise in 1979. The performance of the motivated 245th soldiers caught the eyes of the evaluators. At the completion of the exercise, the company was assigned to the Rapid Deployment Force in support of the 82nd Airborne Division. The RDF was composed of the best units, each of which had to be ready to deploy anywhere within 24 hours. In early 1980, thousands of Cubans sought refuge in the U.S. and other embassies in Havana, and a mass exodus by every conceivable boat type began by May. Eventually, nearly 130,000 people escaped, most going to reception centers in America. The United States set up a reception center at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. The 245th supported compound operations between 7 and 24 August of 1980. Personnel provided movies and music for their entertainment, and the loudspeaker teams provided informational broadcast and news reports, and were instrumental in assisting the military police in containing riots. For their actions in Wisconsin, the participating 245th soldiers were awarded the Humanitarian Service Medal. In 1986, the 245th PSYOP Company became the first Airborne Reserve PSYOP Company in the U.S. Army. The unit's substantial morale went even higher with this announcement. The 245th's first jump came on 10 October 1986 from a C-141 over Fort Irwin, California. Most jumps at that time were conducted from Dallas Naval Air Station helicopters. Other jumps were conducted at the Eagle Mountain Lake Drop Zone, including water jumps. In November 1990, all Special Operations Reserve units were consolidated under one command, the newly formed United States Civil Affairs Psychological Operations Command at Fort Bragg. The 90th ARCOM shoulder patches came off, and the USEKE POC patches went on. In August 1990, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. As a result, the United States deployed troops under Operation Desert Shield to contain his advancements and lay the groundwork for rolling back the invasion. On Christmas Day 1990, 18 soldiers from the 345th were notified to prepare to deploy to Saudi Arabia. 2 days later, the soldiers flew to Fort Bragg and proudly held their own alongside other deploying units at the mobilization site. The 245th soldiers loaded aboard C-141s with the unit's brand new Humvees and arrived in Saudi Arabia on 13 January 1991. The air campaign began 4 days later, followed by the ground war 6 weeks after that. The detachment supported Marine ground operations. 3 PSYOP teams from the 245th were among the first ground troops to enter Kuwait International Airport. 1 team captured an entire Iraqi tank battalion. After the ceasefire, teams worked with the 5th Special Forces Group and at the East Enemy Prisoner of War Camp. The 245th PSYOP Company soldiers returned home with new unit symbols, the palm and wings. On 16 September 1994, the 245th PSYOP Company again received the call to deploy. This time it sent 13 soldiers to support Operation Restore Uphold Democracy in Haiti. The soldiers arrived in Port-au-Prince, Haiti on 7 October. 2 went to Jérémie on the southern peninsula to support the 3rd Special Forces Detachment. The rest of the soldiers went to the northern coastal city of Cap-Haïtien to support 2 battalions from the 2nd Brigade of the 10th Mountain Division. The PSYOP teams disseminated information on a daily basis and remained constantly on call for the Quick Reaction Force, working to defuse many potentially lethal situations. Most of the 245th returned home at the end of their 90-day tour, except 6 soldiers who received involuntary 90-day extensions. The 245th continued to train and develop new operating procedures based on the knowledge gained from the Gulf War. This information was instrumental in the company's successful annual training and participation in operations such as Warfighter, Operation Market Square, and several deployments to the Joint Readiness Training Center exercises. In June 1996, the name of the 245th changed to the 345th PSYOP Company, as all reserve PSYOP companies changed numbers to the 300 series. The breakup of the former Republic of Yugoslavia unleashed a series of wars in the Balkans. In 1997, the 345th was given the warning order to deploy for the first of what would be several deployments to that region. Between January and September 1998, the unit operated in war-torn Bosnia, primarily the Multinational Division North area. Other soldiers were in Sarajevo and Banja Luka. Teams conducted presence patrols, civilian non-interference, civilian information campaigns, mine awareness, and passive intelligence gathering. In 2000, a tactical detachment of the 345th deployed to Kosovo in support of Operation Joint Guardian, conducting similar missions to the Bosnia deployment. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, the unit's operational tempo steadily increased. They conducted missions in Germany, Jordan, Oman, and Egypt. During the summer of 2001, the company prepared for upcoming deployment to Egypt in support of Operation Bright Star. However, the attacks of September 11, 2001 would alter that plan forever. Shortly after the 9/11 attacks, the 345th PSYOP was alerted for possible deployment. A flurry of activity ensued to prepare the company while at the same time integrating new soldiers eager to take part. Although they didn't know it at the time, the 345th would have soldiers continuously deployed for more than a decade in support of the global war on terror. Shortly after the 2002 New Year, the 345th departed for Fort Bragg to mobilize, while a rear company stood up to prepare for ongoing operations. The 345th PSYOP Company was the first PSYOP reserve company to be deployed in support of the war. The company deployed to support the Combined Joint Special Operations Task Force that spring. The 345th teams spread throughout the country, working active and reserve special forces teams, other government agencies, Afghan militias, and conventional soldiers at remote fire bases scattered all over the desolate war-torn nation. In addition to civilian non-interference and mine awareness, teams conducted tactical deception, surrender appeals, and direct action in support of unconventional warfare. The unit rotated soldiers to Afghanistan nearly constantly until the last company-wide deployment in 2009. With less than a year home from its first Afghan tour, the 345th was given a warning order to prepare to deploy in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. From February to October 2004, the 345th was assigned responsibility for tactical PSYOP in Baghdad, Iraq, supporting elements of the 1st Armored, 1st Cavalry, and 10th Mountain Divisions, along with numerous special operations, foreign and host nation forces. Teams conducted the full spectrum of military operations in urban terrain, from direct action raids, cordon searches, and sonic deception to humanitarian assistance. 6 Purple Hearts were awarded, along with a multitude of other individual awards.
Right now in Iraq, what we're doing is trying to provide a safe and secure environment so that the people of Iraq can thrive as a country.
Like Afghanistan, the 345th maintained a constant presence of individuals in Iraq and also sent one team to Guantanamo in support of detainee operations. The 345th counts 3 among the lives lost to the war. Sergeant Jamie Maureen Michalski died 23 October 2004. After her 2002 deployment, she returned to the region as a Russian linguist and was killed by a suicide bomber in Kabul, Afghanistan. Sergeant Charles Katowski was killed by an IED near Khojiani, Afghanistan in 12 August 2007 while on patrol with Special Forces. Sergeant Clinton William Dickey died 13 February 2010. Clint completed 2 combat tours in Afghanistan. The deployments took a huge toll on Clint, and he succumbed a few months after returning home from his 2nd deployment. The 345th deployed a detachment in support of Combined Joint Task Force Horn of Africa from June 2012 to March 2013. They conducted operations throughout East Africa, in Djibouti, Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and Uganda, aimed at combating terrorism and building host nation capabilities. Operations included dissemination of 24 command information products, as well as future counter-piracy concepts to combat al-Qaeda influence in East Africa. The 345th Detachment conducted radio assessments and contracted numerous radio broadcasts in the Somali region. As the company celebrates its 50th anniversary, it is still poised and ready for future missions. Beyond the horizon is a U.S. Southern Command annual civic assistance and humanitarian exercise. The exercise provides construction and medical assistance to partner nations throughout Central and South America and the Caribbean. In the coming year, the 345th will add its experience to these, and doubtlessly add to the unit's already storied history. For 5 decades now, whenever the nation has called, the 345th Tactical PSYOP Company has always been at the top of the deployment list. From Vietnam through Desert Storm, Haiti, Bosnia, Kosovo, and the global war on terror, and operating in countries as diverse as Afghanistan, Australia, Cuba, Ecuador, Egypt, Germany, Iraq, Italy, Japan, Korea, and Romania. The 345th has helped prove that PSYOP is an essential force multiplier for any fight, anywhere, anytime. The soldiers from the 345th continue to attend professional schools, training rotations, and all while preparing for future combat deployments. This company of airborne PSYOP soldiers has proven its value on countless occasions and will no doubt prove it again. In the conflicts to come, the faces of the soldiers may change, but the 345th PSYOP Company will always hold the same spirit of professionalism, tactical innovation, and airborne pride.